On today's episode, we invite Jessica Kwazz from the Second Chance Movies podcast to put Rocky V to the ultimate test. Go for it! Welcome to the Nostalgia Test Podcast, the show where two longtime friends put their mainstream pop culture past to the ultimate test, the Nostalgia Test. Okay, then are you ready?
Yeah, go for it.
Oh my God. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Nostalgia Test Podcast. You know, I'm keeping that in, Manny.
You should. We already messed up the intro. It's fine. Guys, welcome. I'm going to take over for Dan right here because I can't believe we made it to this far. We're almost to the end of this marathon that is the Rocky Nostalgia Test Marathon. We're at Rocky V. I don't have my jersey on, Dan, so I apologize. I did not realize it did not get washed for this episode. But guess what? We're here, and somehow, some way, we have a guest for Rocky V.
Oh, I can't. I mean,
you got a guest for us for Rocky V, dude. Rocky V.
I'm very impressed with both getting a guest, but I'm super psyched that we have a guest, and we have an amazing guest, Jessica Kwazz from the Second Chance Movies podcast. Jessica, thank you so much for being on the Rocky V episode. Just thank you. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. Like I said, I'm on my podcast all the time. I'll literally watch any movie. So Rocky V, I'm here. I'll do it. I don't mind.
Oh my God. Yeah. Why don't you tell everyone about your podcast?
Yeah. So as you mentioned, my podcast is Second Chance Movies. I co-host that with one of my best friends, Joe Harper. And basically we take movies that were either hated, beloved, polarizing, and we give it a second chance and see if it still holds up, if it's as bad as people thought, if it's as good. And like you guys, we sort of have a test as well, which is, does it deserve a second chance? And yeah, we do all sorts of movies. It doesn't necessarily have to be bad. Like, we just got a request for Kung Fu Panda, which I didn't think was ever polarizing, but hey, we're going to do it. We're also going to review Geely soon because one of our listeners was like, hey, I see Ben Affleck and J-Lo are back together. What was that movie about? So yeah.
God bless you if you're going to watch that. I mean, yeah, I guess Rocky V can handle all that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, we get some interesting requests. And sometimes the movies surprise us. Like, it really, like, we just did a Waterworld episode. We just recorded one. And I surprisingly walked away being like, you know what? That actually wasn't as bad as, like, people made it out to be, is what I remember. So, yeah, we have a lot of fun just revisiting and talking about what they're like now.
Do you think because you're looking at it as a lens sometimes of that it's going to be bad? Like, you know how some people hype up a movie and then you watch it and you're like, that wasn't that great. But now you're like, you're hyping down a movie and you're just like, actually, that wasn't that bad. Like, is it because you're just like, how terrible could it be? It's Geely bad.
Right. That's a good
like
question.
this, like, you know.
I do try to go in very unbiased. Even if, like, I already have an opinion of the movie, I just try to watch it and forget everything I know about it. But yeah, sometimes it's like, no, that really is as bad as people say, and here's why. And we don't just like to be super critical. We also like to look at movies at the lens of like, well, what if we were making it today? Like, what would make this even better? We either are completely shitting on a movie or praising it and just telling you like, hey, if you liked this movie back then, or if you didn't, maybe you want to watch it now because it's might hold up now. So I also am the type of person that will watch a movie once and then I'm like, okay, I've seen it, I know what it's about, like it, I'm done. Whereas my co-host, he will rewatch movies even if he didn't even like it that much. So we both
I'm the same way.
Okay, so yeah, like we have the both angle of like, I'll watch anything literally, but only once. He'll do it 5 times. So
what I guess decade do you enjoy the most?
Oh, that's really hard. because I am like a student of cinema, if you will. But there's something so wild about like 80s movies that really get to me. And I also just love a good like deeply 90s movie, like The Craft, or like, just some like Scream. Like I just love 90s and 80s movies. I don't know why, but I do.
So you like a good 90s film. So Rocky 5 was like right up there. It's 1990.
Yeah.
Rocky
1990. All right, well,
$42 million.
Before we get right into that, Dan, I realized that Jessica did not let us know where people can get her find her podcast.
Oh, yes, thank you. Well, wherever you're listening to this, you can find Second Chance Movies. We're on every podcast platform, and we also do visual episodes on YouTube. So if you like a little visual medium, Second Chance Movies podcast, we're also on YouTube. All
right, Dan, let's get into it. Give us a little bit of the facts of the what this thing made, and then we're gonna dive into this guy.
So everybody, so if you don't know what Rocky 5 is about, Rocky 5 is a 1990 American sports drama film. It is the sequel to the 1985 film Rocky 4. And it is the fifth installment in the Rocky franchise. It stars Sylvester Stallone. He also wrote it, but he didn't direct this one. They actually got the director back from the original Rocky, John G. Avildsen. I have some questions about that. They probably shouldn't have, if it's not
why
broke,
mess up a formula?
It.
I don't know. Maybe Sylvester Stallone just had too many things going on to be like, I can't bother being a director as well.
Yeah. So it stars Sylvester Stallone. He wrote it, co-starring Talia Shire, Sage Stallone as well, and Tommy Morrison played Tommy Gunn. You also have, your the usual suspects in there as well. And it's just Rocky 5. I mean, it is $42 million, Manny.
Oh my God.
$42 million to make, right?
To make it?
To make this. Rocky 5 cost Rocky 4 cost $28 million, and that made $304 million.
Well, Rocky 4 was only montage, so they did most of their budget cost was just editing. So like they didn't have to have the street fighting and all the extras and stuff like that. Even though they had a big fight at the end, that wasn't that long. So you didn't have to pay that many day workers.
Now, Rocky 5 cost $42 million, and it made $120 million. So in terms of movies, it's a hit. In terms of Rocky films, it's the lowest amount of money made by a Rocky film.
Wow. Okay. That's interesting because, it sounds like a lot. It's a good return, but when you compare it to the whole franchise...
I mean, Rocky 4 made $300.4 million.
Wow.
So you're on a $28 million budget. That's like unreal. And it's the most successful. And Rocky 1 made a lot of money as well.
It's the most successful, but only, this is a hot take. Obviously, I love Rocky 4. If you heard our last episode, it's my favorite. But it's a fan favorite. And we've talked about this. It's the second lowest rated Rocky in the franchise. Rocky 4.
Unreal.
Rocky 5 being the one that's the lowest. And then it goes Rocky 4. Which I'm like, wow. But it's such an 80s amazing ball of fire that it just is a huge fan favorite. But this one is like the least fan favorite in my opinion. Yeah. Except for Rob, who was on Rocky 2 episode, who like rated this his top
3? I think it was in top 3.
Wow. Okay.
Dude, he came out with, and we're gonna do at the end, Jess. We do a ratings.
Okay.
And he came out with a hot take of 5 being the first one, and I was like, "No way, dude."
No,
and he's
like,
it wasn't we woke
one.
Up.
It was like it was.
No, he
like
said
in
5. No, Dan, we got to go back to it. He had first said he likes 5 the best, and then I think he saw our faces, and he had to change it.
Yeah. Well, how can I forget? Today, the day we're recording this, is Sylvester Stallone's birthday.
Bro hugs. Boom.
So happy birthday to the man himself.
Happy birthday to the genius.
We've released Rocky 4 on his birthday, and we're recording Rocky 5. This is the weirdest day of this podcast.
The best one gets released, and the best one, the worst one gets...
Rocky 5, I mean, let's just dive right into it. I mean, right away... Go ahead, Manny.
First, we usually do first reactions. So I'm going to go... Like, I've never really hated this film, never loved it. There was a point in my life, I've actually watched this a couple more times. Jess, you say you only watch it once. You only watch things once. I've probably watched Rocky V more than like 10 times.
Wow.
Even though I think it's a kind of movie.
Yeah.
It's not totally bad to me. And for some reason, I feel like there's a purpose to it because it represents 90s boxing and early 90s music, early 90s horrible dressing. Like, who dressed these people? They went from Rocky IV, which was like the tightest he's ever. He looked so good. And then what was the 90s? You're like turtlenecks everywhere.
Such
oh
a
my
weird
God.
Time. Early 90s was like a really rough transition in terms of style. We didn't know what to do.
we were hungover. We were hungover.
From the whole 80s.
So I was right off the bat, right when I was like, okay, let me watch this again. I wasn't upset that I was watching it. Like I said, it fits, and people yell at me about this. I'm like, there was a reason why this movie needed to be made to put into the franchise. What do you think? What do you like? Your first reactions, Jess?
So
when we asked you to watch this,
when you asked me to watch it, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot there was a fifth one. Let me give that a go. I grew up like in a Rocky household. We all love the movies. I haven't seen all of them in a long time, so I really literally forgot about 5 at all. And then while I was rewatching it, I was like, oh, well, that's why I forgot about it. But, I do agree with you, Manny. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. At times I was like, I'm enjoying this weirdly. It does feel like, instead of like a Rocky movie, it feels like a very long episode of a television drama in the early 90s that Rocky's guest starring in. Like, that's how it feels.
Guest star? He's
like a crossover event on Law and Order.
Yeah, exactly.
I was waiting for like Marisha Hargitay to come on. It's like, it's like Rocky's in there,
and
like in the corner.
He's just heavily featured. And I do want to say too, like, I was oddly really emotional watching Sage Stallone, and it's just really bittersweet because we know what happens in real life, and just seeing this father-son relationship immortalized on film was like really nice, but also just really sad.
Yeah,
he actually was actually really good though.
He was.
The movie in the movie that was going on with the kid.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was like more interested in that than the actual Tommy Gunn part. I was like, I love that there was like this montage going on, and I'm like, oh my God, there's like a real deep movie going on here, but like it's being overshadowed by this man. So it was really annoying on that part. But
I mean, do we want to call these things montage? I mean, we'll get into that because I don't even know. These were that's another thing I think that was made this film really weird to watch. Was like, we just did the episode about Rocky IV. We just released it. We're watching Rocky IV. We're watching all these Rockies, and then you get to Rocky V, and you're like, the montages are just like blah. Like
they're terrible montages.
There's nothing going on.
It's like they forgot how to edit montages, yet they invented the montage.
They
invented the sports montage. After the original one, all sports movies were shot differently, like shown differently, and yet in the 90s, apparently everyone who was editing this film forgot how to do anything.
Right, forgot that they did it already.
Yeah,
because the montages do feel more of like a slice of life montage. Like, we're just out here living our lives, as opposed to like a build up to a sports event.
Yes.
It's a build up to like a drunken bar fight. And you're just like, this is what we're coming here for? Oh my God. But I was watching this last night, and I'm like you, Manny. Oddly, this is one of the Rockies that I've seen the most. Like, I've probably seen Rocky V more times than any of the other Rockies besides Rocky IV. I think these two are like, I don't know why. And for some reason, like I said, like,
could it have been because
we had it? I had it.
Because I think I definitely saw this in the theater, right? Where the other ones.
Holy nostalgia.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So the other ones, I think I had seen on VHS or on TBS where you watched Rocky, So I think there was something, and Rob brought this up, that there is something about us being like at a certain age where this came out, where the other ones had come out before we were older enough to really like watch it. We watched them later on, and people were like, "Oh, look, this movie took place." You know, this was like Jessica said, like her family was a Rocky family. Like my dad introduced me to Rocky. Like so, like I watched this because somebody showed me. Where in 1990, I would have been old enough to be being taken to the movies and seeing this. So like maybe that's why we watched it a lot.
Yeah, it was accessible. Maybe.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. I didn't, but you guys did.
I mean, I'm going to bring it up, Manny. I'm really sorry, but this is why Over the Top continues to come up. It's because I saw it so many times when I was a kid. My uncle
that didn't mention Over the Top.
You opened the door for it. You opened the door for it, but
I'm sweating.
So distressed. But
I hate that movie.
But this movie opens again. We're right back at like previously on Rocky, but again back to the old school like Rocky name across the screen. Like we're right back
Rocky
there.
4 we missed that.
Nothing. Yeah.
Rocky 4 title card going across. They didn't have it. They had the boxing gloves, and we're back at just in case you missed all the other Rockies. This is what happened last time.
Just again like a 90s TV drama, like. Just catching you up. Here we go.
Yeah. It's like all the Rockies had this happened last time. And then this was like, okay, I'm all caught up.
But this one was like the whole fight. And just
I know.
And just like you said, Jess, like how like it reminded you about like almost like there was like a Law and Order-esque thing to it, or like that 90s drama thing. It did that weird thing in the beginning where it was like color and then it faded into a black and white still or slow motion. Like it reminds me of Law and Order at the beginning. I'm just like, what is happening?
It's this like weird stylistic choice to be like, hey, in case you forgot, this was the past.
Maybe Dick Wolf really liked Rockies. And he was
maybe that was his inspiration all along.
So he's like, yeah.
How many of these can I make?
We got to figure out if Dick Wolf was like, maybe he was like a PA or something on this. You know, he started out on like a Sylvester Stallone Rocky film. Dude. Watch. I guarantee you there's a connection.
I like that conspiracy theory. I'm into it. I'd buy it.
That's what I'm going with. His first job was Rocky 5. That's
oh my god. Anyway,
so we're right into it. This, Dan, you had we've been texting back and forth like we do when we're testing. This is where the movie like when you're first watching him shaking in the shower and he's like, yo, and he tells Tony to go call Adrian. I'm like, oh, this is going to be deep. Like, this is going to be a deep movie. For the first couple of minutes, you're like, this is going to be a great movie about his like issues and what's going on. And then, 26, what is it? 26
minutes.
And then we lose it.
You're skipped over the Stallone ass shot.
That's going to be ball.
Yeah, I wrote that down. I wrote Stallone tush. That was my first note watching it. There it is.
That's why this got a PG-13 rating instead of a PG.
Good for him. The fifth movie, he's doing it. All right. Hey, good for you.
Well, he had to make it a little. He's like, I got to give him something because this movie is terrible. So I
got to grab him right away.
This movie is terrible. Let me just put my ass in this picture.
Well, I have to say, he put in his best acting right there in this movie.
At the very beginning.
Like in the ass.
Yeah.
Right in the beginning.
Yeah.
Right in the beginning. Not his ass shot.
Right.
No,
well, he might have. Because it's a good pose, too. It's not just like a normal ass shot. Like, he's really sculpted his body. And, like, good for you, bro.
Bro hugs.
But I
does
agree.
that in, like, every other film, him being in the shower and stuff after that.
No one poses like that in the shower. He's like...
He's like a statue, just, like, letting the water drip. Like... doesn't look comfortable. We're like, it's getting everything, sir.
Plus, I'm pretty sure he wouldn't be able to stand after going 15 rounds with Drago and Rocky. They should have wheeled him out of that stadium in Canada. But, like, they should have wheeled him out into the hospital. Instead, he's just standing there. After Rocky won, he's in a wheelchair, in an ambulance.
Yeah.
Goes to an
here
ambulance.
He's like, and this I just need to take a shower. I'll be good. It's like, wait a second. Oh my god.
And Tony's all excited, and he doesn't even realize that,
covered
Rocky's
in blood,
falling apart. So all right. So all he wants to do is go home. He calls Adrian Mickey. You catch that?
I didn't catch that.
That was
that was a little
that was shocking.
That was why I was like, oh, and I had forgotten this part of the movie. So I was like, oh man, this definitely could have been deeper than it was. Dan and I have this joke that this movie is a time traveling movie, and his son just keeps getting older a lot quicker because his son is supposed to be 9. Because this movie is apparently taking place right after the fight. Not that they're staying in Russia for 3 years, letting him heal. Literally fly back. Kid's 13 years old.
Totally different kid, different hair.
Yeah.
And we're okay with this? Like, no mention?
But Adrian's hair is longer. Everything's different.
Everything's way different. But it's, there's a time issue there. There's a time loop we went through.
But in Rocky, apparently we're not supposed to care about this. So apparently with the kid, he's has
time traveler.
Some sort of, like, there's a new movie coming out called Old, where people are on this island. M. Night Shyamalan, I think, is the director. And they're on this island. They get old very quickly. This child has that syndrome. Yeah. Because he, Rocky 3, he's like 3. Then all of a sudden he's 7. And now he's 13, 14.
Yeah.
And it's all supposed to be a lot closer in time.
We're supposed to be okay with it.
Yeah, and we're and he's like, "How was school? That was awesome." I'm like, "You abandoned your child. You're actually one of the worst." Like, they're very selfish lovers. They only care about themselves, Rocky.
Lovers, that's gross.
But yeah, they're really not like the best parents. That kid really just has the run of the house and can do anything he pleases.
He got left with a robot.
Really though, like,
and then 5 years later, they came home.
They're like, "Hey, son." What do you do now? You go to school, right? Okay.
But it's like his son sold the house because they pulled up to a totally different house. And it's like under construction. Like there's like a scaffolding outside. There's no robot. He's,
why was the robot pulled? They should have at least brought the robot back. That should have been something that was on auction.
Oh,
like, instead of the robot, instead of the motorcycle, the kid should have been, like, hugging the robot. Because the robot took care of him for 5 years.
And it should have been screaming, like, "No, Paulie!" Oh, my God. It's such a weird world that he flies back to. And it's just like, "Hey, I did this." It's like, wait a second. It was Christmas. So it shouldn't just be, like, just a couple days later. So you're not going to school. Why are you in school?
Yeah. There's a lot of time questions we have from this flight he was in. And,
I feel like Stallone just wrote this shit. Like, he was like, "Fuck this.
Yeah,
like, I don't care."
No one's going to notice. They're going to watch it anyway.
He did say that he did this for money. Yeah. It was great.
That makes sense. Yeah.
There's no passion in it. So he's just like, whatever. Like, your kid was 9. And they're like, "Hey, it doesn't matter." Like, because the story of the kid and training to beat up the bully and all that stuff wouldn't have been a big thing. Like, if it was the 9-year-old kid, we wouldn't have cared so much.
Right. And, too, I think if it wasn't Sage Stallone, I don't think I'd care as much either. I think right now, watching this movie, it's something kind of special to watch, that it's his actual son. Like, I don't know, that made me more engaged with it this time. So I am forgiving of, like, the weird age jump, because I like that it's Sage Stallone, and, like, he's like this punky little middle schooler who doesn't know what he wants. Like, that's entertaining.
It is.
Snobby little middle schooler.
Yeah, a little shit.
At first. He kind of sucks at first.
At first, he's really lame, like, really weird child drawing nudes of his French teacher, like, casually. What?
That's gonna be more.
Yeah.
Stallone's reaction is like, "Whoa, what is this?
What's your English
I love
when
when his dad joke comes through and goes like, "Don't tell your mom. She doesn't understand French."
Yeah.
Or don't show your mom.
Yeah. And he's like, "Oh, then maybe tomorrow you can show me your English teacher." I'm a creep.
Yeah. I have to go get her wipe.
As soon as he gets off the plane and they have that press conference and that guy shows up with his own microphone.
The Don King wannabe.
Dude, what is that microphone even plugged into? How is that working?
His lackey is carrying a boombox.
Oh, is he?
I'm just saying it. I don't see it, but I'm like, that guy who's his lackey, who just like his pump up guy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right? Yeah. Throughout the whole movie is probably like,
helping
dude, I'll hold this
make
thing.
The entrance, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, yeah.
First of all, I'm angry with the U.S. this whole time because Rocky just, solved the Cold War, comes back. They want to do a press conference, ask him all these questions. Those reporters are terrible.
So mean. They are so mean to this poor guy who, like, is just an athlete, guys. Calm down. They, like, are harassing him. They're, like, yelling at him. Like, what did he do to you personally? Like, he's just...
They were so, like, when they're like, you're going to retire this way. I'm like, yeah, he retired even before.
Yeah.
Remember when he was like, I was like, Rocky IV, he was ready to stop. He only fought Drago because Drago killed his best friend. Like, that was the only reason that movie even happened. You're like, and you're already attacking him because he wants to think about retiring? Like, what's wrong with you?
Right.
Rocky's been trying to retire since 1970, like 1979 in Rocky 2.
Yeah.
Like,
in Rocky 2, he was ready to retire.
Rocky 3, he tried to retire.
Yeah.
Rocky 4, he was retired. I mean, this man has been trying to retire, and at the same time, Stallone's been trying to kill Rocky in every script. Like, in this one, he wanted to kill him at the end of this movie, and then the studio's like, nah, he doesn't die. He's like Superman. He can't die.
They did not want an icon to die. And my question is, would this movie have been more special if he did?
Well,
see, I was watching that end fight knowing that he originally wrote that he would die in it. And I really thought, like, if he did die in this fight, that's a weak way to go out. So I'm almost glad they didn't, just because I think that, like, if they did kill him off in this, one, we wouldn't get Creed movies that I think are bomb, but, like, the ending of this legacy would have been, like, him dying in a gutter. Like, yikes.
Yeah, I agree. Like, the only way I would accept him dying is if it would have been in the ring and it would have been a better movie. Because, like, if you're saying, like, this is the movie we got and then he dies, like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
and the last page of the script is like, she's pregnant with his daughter. He's like, can't wait to have when she comes there, and then he just dies, and then Adrian makes a speech at the end of the film. That's what it was going to be. She makes a speech by the statue, and then it fades out, and it's an image of him from like Rocky 1 on the steps near where that statue was, and that's how Rocky 5 is supposed to end. That's how he originally
I mean,
wanted.
It would have been nice, like, if the movie was what the movie was going to be 26 minutes in, like, be in those 26 minutes, sure. I would have been like, all right. And yeah, we wouldn't have gotten, maybe we would have gotten Creed, but, like, considered a reboot. But
yeah. It would have needed to be, like, much, higher echelon throughout the whole movie for it to be acceptable. Yeah. And also, I think, like, the final, like, street fight, we would have needed a better motivation, because the motivation for that fight is essentially, like, Tommy hits Paulie and he gets pissed. And, like, then he's like, all right, I'll fight you.
Bro hugs.
If it was like, you know what? Like, I do want to fight. Like, Adrian and the son are like, you know what, Dad? We see it. Like, go off. If it makes you happy, whatever. But, like, if it was just like, hey, you mess with my bro, and then he dies, like, oh, no.
And he's the worst bro. Like,
he's the worst. He's the worst guy. This movie this is the only movie where I'm like, Paulie's actually better than Tommy. Like, Tommy is a terrible person.
Yeah.
Paulie's second terrible.
Yeah.
Like, where Paulie has always been the worst of every single movie. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, I actually like Paulie better than Tommy in this. But, like, I agree with that. It would have been cool if they were like, listen, I just want to do one more fight. I want to fight Tommy. Let's get the license. Let's get a second opinion, and then they somehow word it where, like, okay, you could still get your license. It wasn't as bad as we thought. And then you see a training montage, and then he dies in the ring. Like, maybe. Yeah. But still, are you saying he dies in the ring because of Tommy Gunn?
So, yeah, that's the thing, too. Like, I'd want him to win. A better fighter. Like, I'd want him to still win, and then maybe afterwards it's like, oh, shit, I did take too many blows to the head, and bye-bye. But, because, to Tommy, come on. Like, he can't
like, he couldn't lose to Tommy. He's such a terrible human. Can we talk about how terrible this guy is?
Tommy sucks.
When we first meet him, okay, he's totally ignoring anything that goes wrong. He has no spatial awareness, no awareness of other people's conversations. Totally ignores, like, when he first, what's his guy's name? Only America guy.
George Washington Duke.
George Washington Duke.
Oh, my God.
You know, when he first comes to Rocky because he's selfish and wants to exploit Rocky, Tommy wants to talk to Rocky totally lets this whole conversation happen where Adrian jumps in and all this stuff, and then like goes back to Rocky to bother him. Were you listening to that conversation? The man just had like serious, like it's a very serious conversation, and you're just like, hey, by the way, remember I was just talking to you?
Yeah. Hey, can I have your attention
again? Did you not watch this whole thing?
He's really busy, Tommy. Like, leave him alone.
Yeah, he's got a lot going on. Like, he just lost everything. He's living in Paulie's house. I mean, which looks worse than
it's not Paulie's house.
What house is that?
That was Rocky and Adrian's first house from Rocky 2.
No, Rocky 2, he bought that other house that had like a big living room. I don't know what house this is.
Bro,
remember?
It's not Paulie's house.
It's definitely not Paulie's
house was configured differently. It's closer to the apartment that they had. But maybe
just couldn't
whatever.
The
they just couldn't get the set. Yeah.
But this one looked way worse.
But there's other points where Tommy's just totally ignoring everything. Like Tommy goes to dinner. The kid is sharing about his story. Tommy totally tells this kid to beat everybody up, blah, blah. Goes downstairs. The kid does this nice thing for the father. The father's now blinded by Tommy. Tommy and the son and Tommy and Rocky.
This is the Manny Quillo repeat.
Are having this moment, and Tommy's like, hey, Rocky, are you gonna show me stuff? I'm like, dude, what kind of an asshole are you? The son and the father are having a moment. And you're obsessed with being trained at that specific time. Must have been like 9:30 at night. You're gonna ask Rocky. You need to know how to punch a bag. Like, stop it.
First of all,
stop it. Start caring about people, Tommy Gunn. You suck.
Whoa, that's coming out of the podcast.
I mean, also that was right after like they gave him a home cooked meal, and we're like, oh, you don't have anywhere to stay? Yeah, you can stay with us. We have hardly anything to offer, but yeah. And then he's like, okay, yeah, but can we like fight right now? Like, dude, what more do you need? Like,
no, he was thirsty.
He's thirsty.
Rocky's kid was just beat up by E from Entourage, and like he for his jacket, and like they're just like and this is one of my favorite parts, and this has been going on since Rocky 1. Rocky has some of the best jokes. Tommy Gunn says something horrible about being like, hit by his father, and then Rocky's just like, to like cut the tension, like, well, at least you had a dad to hit, to knock out. So we learned one thing. We learned again. So Rocky had no parents. This is what I'm saying. I feel like he's just been an orphan.
That's why we need that show. We need that prequel. We need the show of Rocky and Apollo growing up to the Apollo fight. We need it. God. Stallone, I know you wrote it. We read an article about it. Come on, get it out. This is the perfect time. Netflix would eat that up. Eat that up.
Yeah, my God.
I want to be on set. Come on.
At least you had a dad to knock out. Oh, no.
Did you catch the joke in the beginning when he's like so happy to be home? He's like, Adrian, I want to violate you like a meter. Yeah, and I want to violate Adrian goes, like you're going to need a quarter. And he's like, oh, don't talk dirty like that.
But that's the part of the movie I loved. Like, that was like really nice to see. Like, I was like, oh, okay, we're going to get like a Rocky 1 character. Like, I mean, I knew it was coming, but like, I was like, oh, we're coming back to that Rocky 1 space where this is much more about the story, like this family story. But then it's just like, go for it.
Okay, so we skipped over this.
And that's a nostalgia test tangent.
So Tommy is a terrible person, but the first terrible person in this movie was Paulie for getting Rocky to sign over power of attorney. But did you realize that when the guy was talking about, they didn't pay taxes for 6 years?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I was so confused about the financial situation because, like, first of all, okay, somehow their accountant got power of attorney with like a fake document, and then they're all sitting there with a lawyer, I presume, and they're all arguing, and then it gets brought up that like, oh, also you haven't paid your mortgage, and they're like, but wait, we fully paid off our house. No, you didn't, and you haven't paid taxes. It's like, who was your accountant, and why was Paulie in charge of your money?
Yeah, worst person ever. Why would you do that? He's in charge of your money.
Drunk. Like, oh my God.
But like, how
Adrian and Rocky could be so smart at sometimes and great dad jokes, but like, why are you constantly loving Paulie so much that you're like, this guy needs to be in my life?
Right.
Like, he should have been cut off in Rocky 2.
Or, hey, if you love him, give him no responsibility and just have him mill about because he is always terrible. Like, stop. I also, like, hate him in this movie even more because he screwed up the family so bad and is just like, sorry. Like, I don't know. I thought it was a good idea. Like,
he's like, I need a drink. Of course you do.
Yeah, I just
no accountability. You're right. He has no accountability. That's what I'm saying. Like, he's close in line with Tommy Gunn as the most terrible person in this movie because we wouldn't have Rocky 5 without Paulie. Like, if Paulie didn't do that, Rocky would have just came home to millions and then could have just been like, I'm just going to retire and like done. Yeah. Like, we wouldn't see it like goodbye. Right. Rocky 5 doesn't exist. Yeah. You know, like done. Or maybe we see him like train his kid. Because now his kid, like, could have just fast forwarded and made his kid 20 years old. Because nobody would have cared. No, kid could have been 19 years old. We all would have been like, that doesn't really make any sense. And people would be like, yeah, it does.
Sure.
And you'd be like, cool.
Okay, I'm here still.
And you're cool with it. Like,
I get, like, I do get the need to have him lose all his money and, like, start from the ground up again. I think it's also, like, interesting commentary about how, you know, athletes can really be used and abused and spit out. But just the way in which they lose their money, one is so confusing. Like, so confusing. And then also putting all the blame on Paulie but keeping him around. That's where it's like, okay, I think we could have done this just, like, a little better. Because I hate him. And you're still hanging out with this guy. Like, maybe your accountant, like, you guys thought you were in charge of it. I mean, we see celebrities get screwed over all the time, especially athletes. Like, I think there could have been a better way for him to fall down that hard. That wasn't so, like, Paulie just signed some document and now we have no money. Like, what?
Yeah. It's so weird. But nowadays, now when I heard it back, of like, you know, what you were saying too, like, about they haven't paid taxes in 6 years. They didn't pay their house off. There's $400,000 left on the house that they didn't pay. How could that have gone on for that long?
Yeah, why was no one checking? Like, no one was double checking your paperwork?
We're thinking it doesn't exist, but it probably does somehow, some way or another. And there are parts when I thought about Rocky 5, I'm like, this was definitely necessary to show you that, like you were saying, just like highs and lows. Like, people could get that taken away, like, in seconds. I'm definitely someone who's experienced, like, not to get too deep here, but my family went from a very high place to a very low place very quickly, and I guess this movie hits me pretty deep in that feel because I'm like, oh, I could see where this could happen, especially from the 80s to the 90s. Like, during Reaganomics, people were making a lot of money and then people lost a lot of it. And when you get to a certain point where you have all that money, you think other people are taking care of you. And especially Rocky, who's very naive and, like, you know, although we thought it was very, like, smart, he was never money smart, Dan. You remember in Rocky 2, he bought a freaking tiger jacket.
And a car.
Like, so, you know, so, like, and even Adrian, although she got smarter, she was, she was also a little naive too. So, like, you're making that much money, all this is happening, you're just thinking, like, okay, everybody else has control. Like, everybody's fine. And you're right, why make Paulie the head of that?
Yeah, that's like, just the one thing I would change is, like, it's just in general, the idea of him being in charge is really stupid. And then having him be the main reason, but we're still going to keep him around like our buddy, like, that is frustrating. Like,
I think they needed to do that for the fans who hate Paulie. Well, Paulie's always done something stupid for us to be like, I freaking hate Paulie.
Yeah.
But, like, he's around. But you need that heel. Something happened to them as kids, and we talked about this. Something happened, and, like, they are blood brothers somehow. Like, he could do no wrong. He must have gotten Rocky out of something.
Right.
You know?
I think, and I do like the relationship, even though I hate him, because we all have, I think, that one friendship that, like, I will be there for you and love you, and you know me better than anyone, and we're going to stick through it, even through mistakes. But, like, this mistake is so bad, and it's so brushed off. Like, you know, there's not even a moment where he's like, I am so sorry. Like, I screwed up everything. It's just like, I thought it was a good idea, whatever. Like, and then they're like, oh, okay, well, it's not your fault, man. It's fine. Like,
yeah, thanks for keeping the house.
A little bit more. Yeah, right. Like, we just needed to, if we were going to put it on Paulie, like, give us a little something to make him redeemable and make it like, okay, but this is why he's still gonna be our pal, because, you know, he did this dumb thing, but we love him.
Yeah.
I guess the only redeeming part of Paulie in this movie is that he trains the son.
Yeah.
He helps train the son while Rocky's blinded by training Tommy Gun.
Yeah, I mean, he's the best parent to that kid. Paulie is.
He also has some really good wisdom about, like, kind of when Tommy is, you know, being
taken,
manipulated. He's like, it's over. He's like, the ship sunk. It's done. Like, he sees it, and because he's a scammer, so he sees the scam.
Yeah.
So that was funny, Dan, that you say that. This is where the movie does try to foreshadow and get very deep in certain ways. Rocky's walking the kid to school, and he's like, you have to watch out for scammers, right? And, like, he's telling his kid all this, but yet he's being manipulated and scammed, and, like, everybody is throughout this whole time. And, like, Rocky's, like, so blinded by, you know, the light of, like, oh, I'm not fighting, but I'm a fighter. He was living through Tommy, and he was just being, you know, bamboozled.
Yeah, and
big word.
The son even has a line that said, "Dad, you told me to watch out for scammers when really you're the one that got scammed." And I was like, "Oh, yeah." Mic drop. Oh, he got you, Dad.
Sage Stallone's speech on the basement stairs. I mean, he was great. Yeah. I really thought I bought him as the son in this movie, and obviously, but, like, you know, sometimes when you have your kids in movies, it doesn't work. Like, this really worked. I mean, he was also good in Daylight. I mean, haven't seen it in a long time. I remember he was also in Daylight.
I thought it was I saw that movie years. Oh man, Daylight.
That's a weird movie.
I forgot he was in that with him.
That's right, he was. Yeah, I think that was his last film. But one thing that is interesting that I thought was so funny about this film was, like, as they're selling everything off, Rocky goes into the attic and opens a trunk and grabs his hat, his leather jacket. He puts the fingerless gloves on and whatever. And I'm just like, what is happening? Like, he's like putting the uniform back on. And then he goes, yeah, I'm going to go take a walk. And he goes, I'm going to go to Andy's. So wait, I want to know where they live, because he can walk from his mansion.
Yeah, I was wondering that too. I was like, you guys look like you're out here. Like, you're walking there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, how close are they to Philadephia?
Right. Do you have, like, a lot of thoughts you got to work through for miles and miles? Like,
he walked a long way. He walked a long way.
I
was like, he's not going to he was still in his mansion.
Yeah.
When he got out to go take that walk.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, you walked all the way to Philadelphia? Like, you were in the suburbs. Like, in a really rich neighborhood of the suburbs. That's not next door to Philadelphia, like where he was. That was a walk. Maybe he took a walk, got on a subway, then took a walk over there.
A subway in Pennsylvania? Get the hell out of here. He's in Pennsylvania. He's out. His
well, no, there was a train track on top.
Yeah, I want to know. Oh, well, yeah, but he'd have to walk to that from the woods where his house is.
They're like out there. It looks like they're in acres of land. So it's like leaving your land seems like a lot. So I think it would just better if, like, I just need to get out of here, and then it'd be like, okay. But specifically saying I need to go for a walk is like, where are you? How long are you walking, bro?
Yeah,
you have traumatic brain
that was
damage.
A weird line.
You shouldn't be walking that long.
No, he shouldn't be.
Then he gets drunk. Another thing he shouldn't do with, like, a traumatic, like, brain injury.
Yes,
goes into Mickey's. And this is the part that really hit me, though. I liked this part when he was in the gym and he sees Mickey talking to him. Like, there's that scene with Burgess Meredith. And, man, that scene was amazing. And Stallone, I think, did a great job. This was 26 minutes into the movie, though.
That's because you also love Mickey. I mean, Meredith is, like, phenomenal at his role. And I love that they brought him back for this. Like, this is probably one of his last roles before he passed.
It's gotta be.
You know, because he obviously looked older, and it was supposed to take place, I think, before the second fight or before the first fight.
I'm not sure,
because he didn't have a hearing aid on, so it must have been before the first fight.
Yeah.
Wow. So, but they needed to put that in there because of the cufflink to be able to, like, make that a thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, and, like, that's another thing. Like, I love Rocky, but, like, he gives up on his son very quickly.
Really
when it comes to fighting, he loves fighting more than his son. Like, he leaves his son in Rocky 3. Like, in Rocky 3, they're like, we're going to L.A. with Apollo. See you later. Goodbye, son. Yep. Right? Then in Rocky 4, goes to Russia without his son. And now, as soon as the fighter comes up, he's like, doesn't even care. You know, he's saying home team to his son, and then all of a sudden passes that along to Tommy.
Right.
I was like, what a dick.
That's so mean.
I was like, Rocky, I was upset with Rocky.
He also put a target on his kid's back when he walked him to school. And he's Rocky Balboa. He's like the most famous person ever. He just beat up this Russian fighter. He ended the Cold War.
Solved the Cold War.
And he also is broke, so everyone knows him there in Philadephia. I mean, he's from there. So he walks his kid to school, gives him money, like openly pulls it out of his ear. Not good. And then goes, Daddy loves you. Bye. I mean, all the kids then surround him. I'm like, oh, it's over for him.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's done.
Immediately when he walks into that schoolyard, he's done. He's done for it. Those kids are vicious. And he's clearly scared and confused. And Rocky's just like, I'm worried about you. I don't know. You're weak. Good luck.
Yeah. He tells Paulie on the way to the gym, he's like, no, he's going to get it. No, it's not going to be good. And I'm just like, yeah, you just made it worse, bro.
Right.
Like, you just made it worse. You can't find like a private school for this. Not a private school, but like, there's got to be some. Don't send him to school yet.
Yeah.
If it was done around now, I guarantee you we all could have started a GoFundMe page for Rocky. Because like if Rocky was this popular, right?
Oh, for sure.
You know, like Jake the Snake Roberts, like got like a bunch of people to pay for his surgery and stuff, like because you know people in the WWE are terrible to their employees and they don't have insurance and stuff. And it's like I think nowadays Rocky would have been able to start a GoFundMe page, be like, I saved America from the Cold War.
Oh my God, yeah.
Help me out.
And in the beginning when they're losing all their money, it's like a really throwaway line, but someone says like, you can't even get brand deals because of your tax issues. Like nowadays, that would not be an issue.
No.
Yeah, are you kidding me?
Yeah, he could have just like told that story and like people would have been all over it.
Dude,
all over it.
He'd be doing things for like the general. Like, there are so many things. Are you kidding me?
He wouldn't have to fight ever.
Never. He'd still have money. Someone would help him out.
He could tell a story, have a podcast. I mean, come on. We have like so many things for Rocky. Rocky's got a punch to the future. That's
he's got a punch to the future in 2021.
2021 comes back. So that plane should be like the Lost plane where like it just ends up here. Right? Yeah, and we're just like, Rocky, he's back. And the kid's 40 and everybody's like, cool. And like,
hey, how you doing? But yeah, he could like go on tour with Henry Rollins, tell his story, maybe with Steve-O. Just go do like comedy.
I'm down with it.
Go do something at the Comedy Store.
He could be a motivational speaker. Like there are options. Yeah.
So many options for him.
So many things.
See, that's the problem. He was just
the 90s.
Not in a good decade.
Yeah.
He came back in the 90s. He should have came back in the 2000s.
Just punch straight to the future.
Punch to the future. Dude, that name, we came up with that name in the last episode, and I think you did, Dan. That was a perfect name for a time-traveling boxing movie.
That's a good one.
I'm trying to think how it would work. Would he have to be punched? If he gets punched, does he go to the past? And if he punches something, does he go to the future? Like I was trying to figure out how it would work.
Like he punches so fast that he like breaks time and space, you know, and zoom, he's elsewhere.
Yeah. Just randomly though. He's like, oh shit, I should have just slapped to the future. I should have just slapped. Like
I went a little too far. I went too far. Damn it. He went like past like World War V, and he's like, oh shit.
Oh man, what
happened here?
His head
Sticks
explodes.
and stones now. Oh Jesus. The Planet of the Apes. He ends up in Planet of the Apes. And he's like, what now? So anyways, back to
and that's a nostalgia test tangent.
I thought we were gonna not talk that much about this movie, and all of a sudden we've like gotten to different tangents of what this movie could have been. So he goes back to school again. Tommy's totally ignoring the kid. Rocky's so high, like, oh, I'm gonna train this guy. And then we get into like one of the first montages, right? Like he says to Tom. Well, first of all, Tommy Gunn's first fight was at this like exactly at the fight that we saw in Rocky 1.
That's right.
Spider Rico fight. It's the exact shot.
Yeah.
You see the Virgin Mary. It comes down. Same punch too. They punch Tom. So you hear Rocky say, "Go for it."
Oh God.
And then that's when we get the slogan of the damn movie.
Oh, yeah.
Which I'm so annoyed that I was repeating that before. So, Jess, do you like 90s hip-hop?
Yes.
Did you like this type of 90s hip-hop?
You know what? I think it has a special time and place, and I enjoy it for what it was then. So, yeah. I guess I would say yeah. Like, there was something about that, the montage where I was like, you know what? I'm kind of grooving to this. Yeah. Go
I was getting Go Ninja, Go Ninja, Go
Vibe. Yes, that's what it was. I think that's why I liked it so much. Because I was like,
this is reminding me of like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles too.
There you go.
Like,
that's it.
And anytime that they did the kid being jumped, there was a background noise. It reminded me of Toe Jam and Earl.
Oh,
remember
God.
the background beat of Toe Jam and Earl?
Yeah.
As you're going through that whole video game?
Yeah.
Go back to this movie anytime right before he starts, he takes over the bully. Yeah. While he's getting bullied, like as he's walking to school, there's this it's the go for it beat, but it's more like Toe Jam and Earl.
Oh, God.
It reminded me of that.
Dude, there's a scene when that kid gets punched. It's literally a 2-second scene. It's like he's going, they take him in an alley, they hit him, end of scene. And that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, you needed that in there? Oh, come on, man. Like, it was just the weirdest scene. It's like, you're basically he had to be going home with like black eyes and like bloody lips. And Rocky's just like, hey, how you doing?
Can we just also talk about Adrian's not so great either? Because she's not really doing much about it. No. She's just like working at the pet store.
Yeah, she seems very neglectful of her child. It's like the pet store is it for her. And
she's just like, oh, maybe Rocky will do it. Like, she's waiting for Rocky to like be a father.
Yeah.
But like, she knows like, your husband has brain damage. Like, you're going to be taking care of a person for a very long time.
Yeah. Tommy aside, he does have brain damage. He can't critically think that well. And there is at one point when him and Adrian have, after Tommy's betrayal, this like really intense back and forth where she says like, your son is lost, and it's like, he's your son too. Like, do something.
Yeah. What have you been waiting for?
He has his ears pierced already. What are you doing?
Oh, yeah, I mean, and like she obviously sees it, but she like lets it happen also. And then she's waiting for her speech moment, which I liked her speech because it reminded me of the speech that she did in Rocky 3.
Yeah.
Right? And she's like yelling at him and stuff, and like he gets to finally like be vulnerable, and that's like that reminded me of a Rocky movie.
Yeah,
that speech.
It did.
But it does like also go back to like, okay, so you're coherent enough to know that things were going bad. Why did you let it come to this?
Right, like she clearly is very skeptical of Tommy. Doesn't trust him. Also, like sees her son struggles, but is really like just taking a backseat to all of that.
She's just got to clean those bird cages. Yeah. I mean, and first of all, the fact that pet shop is still open and
going strong.
Everything else is boarded up. Everything else is boarded up in Philadephia where they live. Like everything is just boarded up. And these two, and she's like, she got on the phone immediately. It's like, well, I called Gloria and if she needed help. Like, Gloria's still there?
Like, the reveal is she just runs out of the pet shop and Rocky's like, what were you doing in there? And
he looks so confused. He's just like, wait, what?
I picked up some chips. I'm not doing anything else. Like, okay.
Wait, what? What
we need the money, Rocky. We lost everything and you own a beat-up gym. Like,
which he cleans in like a day.
Yeah, it looks really good. It's
like, who helped him?
It looks great.
Who? Paulie? You can't tell me Paulie helped him.
No.
Paulie did not help him clean.
Paulie's carrying a bag of stuff that he's selling at the gym, and then he's drinking out of binoculars. Like, this guy is just
dude. He's drinking in like every single scene.
Yeah.
He has a drink.
He should be dead.
Yeah, truly. Right. And when he's dressed up as Santa Claus, he has a cigarette in his hand as well, which was a really interesting visual to see. Just like, hey, I'm here, I'm Santa, what of it?
The 90s.
Yeah, yo.
Yeah, yo-yo's like, I think you got it right. I think you got it wrong. It's like, and then E from Entourage, like, I think we got a 90s Santa.
90 proof Santa.
90 proof Santa.
So, again, good subtle humor there. Like, that was a good one. It is.
All of it is, there's like some really good subtle humor. Then we go back to, remember how I said like Tommy ignores people? Now his friends that come in, that woman, Okay, she ignores anything.
We need a whole podcast episode about that redheaded actress.
So many questions about this woman.
What is she? Why is she there?
Well, did you hear the reporter? She's like, I heard she comes cheap.
Yeah.
Like,
and she's just like,
yeah, she's just like, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you, lady?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
But you like when she's at Rocky's house, right? And like she's supposed to be Tommy Gunn's girlfriend,
even though they met like that night.
So they're hanging out, and she's like, "We have to go at 10 o'clock," and like Tommy's about to have a conversation with what seems to be his mentor.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And I'm thinking in my head, if you're Tommy and you actually care a little bit about Rocky, which you seem to, and all of a sudden, I guess you're such a sociopath that you actually don't have any feelings at all, because your girlfriend, quote, is sitting like going like, we have to go. And like this conversation's happening. She's like, Tommy, she won't open the door until he comes and opens the door. She's like, it's almost 10 o'clock. I wanted to punch her through the TV.
And it was like, where are you guys even going, first of all? That you have to go there right now. And the leading up to that, Tommy's like, hey, can I talk to you outside? Like, it does seem like it's going to be like a one-on-one. Like, I need to talk to you alone. And then, the whole time she's just there like, we got to go, babe. Come on, let's go.
Doesn't say hello to any of them.
No.
Like, that's the rudest thing.
So
like, you come into a house on Christmas.
It is Christmas. Oh, God. So it's been a year. So basically, it's been a year.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah. Almost a year. She's a terrible human.
Yeah.
Oh,
just like Tommy is.
Yeah.
Just like Washington is. Duke Washington,
that
whatever
guy
his name, George Washington, Duke.
That actor is amazing, and he did not have lenses in his glasses the entire movie.
Are you serious,
dude? If you look at the scene after Tommy Gunn wins the belt and he gets up in his face, I'm like, there are no lenses in those glasses.
Wow, I didn't know that.
There's no glare. There's nothing.
That's really funny. I didn't even clock that.
Yeah, I didn't catch that either.
Just the frames, just gold wire frames, and he's just like yelling at him, and he just makes fun of Tommy Gunn at the press conference. Of course, he's not as good as Balboa. Whatever.
Yeah, he sucks, but hey, whatever.
You're terrible.
I mean, the whole time you obviously know that he only is using this to bait Balboa and get a fight.
Yeah.
So like, you hate him anyway, but I still hate Tommy for being the most like selfish person, most sociopathic person. One of them. There's many of them in this movie, but. Then you could also say like Rocky was kind of selfish, like he forgot to be a father.
Yeah, that's true.
Yet he was like, kid would, like he apparently loves his kids so much. And I was just about to fast forward to Rocky Balboa when he's like, I held Junior. He cares so much about his son in Rocky Balboa. But I'm like, does he really care that much about his son? This child is an orphan. Because this child, even from day one, didn't see his parents until after she came out of a coma, which was a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Wasn't like, a day or two. So the child probably saw Paulie first. Paulie is this guy's child.
Yeah, truly. Paulie's the dad here.
Is this guy's father.
Yo, I loved when he had to sleep in Paulie's. Is he have a room there or in a different house? I'm guessing it's a different house. He's like, what, my pit stop? And like, I'm thinking like.
He had to go sleep at Paulie's?
Yeah, he's like, well, your plumbing don't leak, do it? And the kid just like looks at him. I'm like, yo, these scenes, like some of these jokes are just so great. I couldn't take that part though seriously too when Stallone started talking about like Frankie Fear and all this stuff. I'm like, this is for real. Like this is real.
Yeah.
Like Mickey never said any of this shit.
Mickey did not say that.
No. Mickey couldn't even keep a straight face when he's like, chase this chicken.
Why do we chase chicken? Because back in the old days, that's what we did. Called chasing chickens.
Yeah, I'm telling you to do
laughing.
It. Do it. Oh my God, dude. But I do think that like in this case, like, I think he does love his son, but like he legitimately is like, I don't remember any of this. Like when they're arguing, and I'm like, yeah, because you went 15 rounds with a roided up like fighter. Like you might not remember anything forever.
Yeah,
no, he's lost his short-term memory.
Yeah, he looks so confused. He's like, what are you talking about? That didn't happen. What do you mean? And I'm like, you have a medical issue.
Yeah.
That's why you don't understand anything. And everyone's just like, what's your problem, Rock? And he's just like, what?
Yeah, but it's not played like that. Like, it doesn't come off as like, oh yeah, he's got brain trauma, that's why he's acting weird. It's just like, you're being a real dick right now. Like, it's like, no, he's like dealing with something, and we just keep kind of forgetting that. It's more just like, Dad, you don't care about me. It's like, no, he does. He just doesn't remember that he was talking to you about this thing, and then he went over here. So it's like, if we played into that more of him struggling to like maintain relationships with his trauma, like, okay, but instead he just comes off as like rude as hell to everyone around him.
Yeah, exactly.
So guys, if you like Nostalgia Test podcast, please don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe and like.
Follow us on all social media outlets that you can find us, and where you can get podcasts: Podbean, Spotify, Apple.
Oh man!
Like he couldn't focus. The only thing he could, like, I guess the only thing he could focus about is like his long-term memory is boxing.
Right, which is why he can focus on Tommy. Like, that does make sense. Yeah. But it's not, like, explained like that. It feels more like an after-school special of, like, why won't my daddy love me? He loves this guy instead.
With the small montage in that. Like, you're seeing... It's funny, like, we... as the viewers are seeing what's happening through the montages, and like we're making the movie deeper than it actually was portrayed to us in that way. But obviously, like, it's like, oh, you put this together. We don't have the time to like explain that this is a thing. And like, especially in the 90s, they didn't talk about head trauma. Right. Like, they didn't talk about like what you can go through, and like some of the things that were happening. Like, you could just be like, well, yeah, he doesn't remember any of it. Right. Like, he probably doesn't even remember, like, talking to Tommy in the first time he saw Tommy. Like, Paulie has to remind him, like, yeah, remember this guy? Tommy Gunn. It's Tommy Gunn. Hey, look who it is. It's Tommy Gunn, Rocky.
And like, Rocky's like, oh,
Tommy
thank you.
Gunn that's right.
In this movie.
Maybe there was on purpose. Like, maybe Paulie was like, I have to walk Rocky around because he can't walk by himself, and he's a special needs person now, and he needs my help, even though I'm a drunk. So, like, I have to, remind him of people.
Dude, through this lens, some of these lines... it makes some of these lines so much better with, like, after that weird discussion, and Adrian's like, I just wanted to be near you. That's why I was at the pet shop. Like, it's like, oh, that was really heartfelt. Yeah. And then when she crosses the street, and he goes, hey, did we ever leave here? Maybe he's really asking that question.
Right? Oh, my God. Whoa.
Dan, one time you did say that
because he put his jacket on, like he's reverting backwards.
God,
he's like put his hat on, his jacket. His
I'm telling you, this movie is deeper than we know. Like, this movie's about head trauma.
It's like The Shining.
It really is. It is deeper than it looks because. Again, it's commentary about, like, how sports can destroy you and destroy your spirit. And Tommy, this, like, up-and-comer, this new kid on the block, and they take advantage of him. And, yeah, all these issues of, like, brain trauma, if they express it just a little bit more, because once he's, like, diagnosed with it, we almost don't really talk about it again. We're just kind of oh, you can't fight. But, like, if it was, like... Like, if there was a moment where Adrian was like, hey, like, this is why your dad's being like this. He's learning how to, like, it would have been like, oh, shit, this is, like, I get it. I get what this is all about. Not only did he, like, revert back, but his brain is also reverting, and he's trying to figure it out, and he's lost in his mind. But no, that doesn't, when you first start watching it, it's just like, Rocky, why are you rude? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Remember when his son in the beginning, he was even like, Uncle Paulie, like, is something wrong with Dad? And like, Paulie's only answer is like, he took a lot of punches, 15 rounds.
He took a couple hard hits.
So like, they didn't really talk. You're right. They didn't talk about it at all. And a lot of the problems might have been not solved, but could have been more explained. But that's a deeper movie for 2020 instead of like... the 90s. But again, like, Stallone could have like written certain things that were being said that you're like, huh, like, why is Paulie constantly repeating names and repeating to him like who it is? Like, he says Tommy Gunn so many times and you're like, what? Or like, remember that woman who was like, hey, Rocky, remember me?
you used to my son, blah, 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 as a punching bag. He's like, oh, he's got a good head. It was like,
yeah.
You know,
I wrote that down.
Yeah.
I immediately wrote that down. He used to say as a punching bag. He's like, oh, he had a good head. And he just kept walking. Like,
and then the cop who was like, hey, Rocky, I'll help to give you a ticket and pull you over. You're running so fast and stuff. So like,
God, everyone is just quipping.
Yeah.
And don't forget, like, Rocky, him and Tommy are training, and Tommy beats him going up the stairs. Yeah. But Rocky just fought Drago and ran up a mountain.
Yeah.
Like, not so long ago. Like, boy's in shape. But obviously his head trauma is like, he's a little off.
Holding him back a bit. You know? Yeah. But he's still there. It's just something's up. Like, something's a little different.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my God. I think, like, I think Manny, you were saying before, like, I've said before that this movie is like Jacob's Ladder, where, like, he's in a coma or he's dead. Yeah. He's just reliving these moments.
He's actually stuck in Rocky 3.
Somewhere in Rocky 3 or Rocky 1 or 2, like he's in a hospital.
Maybe Rocky 2. Mm-hmm. And that's why he's wearing the jacket and he's like, Adrian, do we even leave here? And he's like, Nope, you've been here.
Yeah, Jack Nicholson should have walked by
Apollo
from The Shining.
Beat you, and that's it.
Oh my goodness.
It's over. You've actually been here this whole time. Yeah. You haven't won. We're not married. I now own the pet shop, and you're just this guy who like comes in and out of that gym and is creepy to me.
Yeah, you live in an empty
and I
building.
pretend that we're married.
Rocky's squatting in that gym.
Yeah,
and Adrian, they're not together. She's like,
they're not.
My God, he keeps showing up.
Yeah, they're not. And the priest is just really nice to him.
He's just really wholesome and really looks out for him. Plays into it.
I love how the priest shows up to his street fight.
Yeah.
I didn't get that at all.
And is cheering.
And like the last shot of the street fight is the priest like above everyone, like, yeah, you did it.
Yeah.
Why is the priest so
assaulted somebody. And the cops arrest Tommy Gunn. They're just like, let's
the
go.
Cops are like, yeah, we all hate you. You're going to jail.
Yeah. You're going to jail. You assaulted 3 men at a bar plus Rocky. So we're skipping over the whatever. We don't even need to tell the audience. Like, Rocky.
Over? Who cares?
Tommy wins. Blah, blah, gets the championship. He's not a fight. Blah, blah. The whole point of this movie is right towards the end. I guess the point of the movie is his relationship with his son, I guess. And then at the end, this stupid street fight.
I'm sorry. I just want to go back to one thing, only because this is the part of the movie where I feel like the brain trauma thing connects. No, and then we'll go. I'm sorry, because that brain trauma thing connects once. When Tommy Gunn is fighting for the championship and Stallone is hitting that bag and they're looking at him and they're like, something's up. Feel like that's when it's happening, because like he feels like he's there, he's in that fight and he's connecting. He's like, okay, you do what I do, and he's like doing this thing, and I'm just like, that to me was such a weird scene to watch again, but it's like in a totally different movie.
It is, yeah.
Like it's not in that movie with the bad hip hop montage like soundtrack. Yeah. Like it's not in this film.
Yeah,
that's a totally different film.
What's interesting is when I was watching that, I read that differently. I was reading that as like Paulie, Adrian, and the son are watching him like really cheer on Tommy and like pretend like he's in the ring, and I read their emotions as like, why aren't you more mad about Tommy? Like, why are you rooting for him? But now that you've said it that way, I see it differently. Like, they are looking at him like, does he think he's in the ring right now? Like, is he mentally okay? So that scene is super weird, but it is more interesting if you look at it through the lens of brain trauma. I
told Manny, I texted him, and I was like, there is a good movie in here.
There's multiple good movies in here.
Yeah. Dude, if he woke up from a coma in Rocky 2 and he's just been sleeping in Mickey's gym and Mickey's dead and he's just a homeless dude who like mumbles to himself because he got beat up by Apollo and never cured from it. And Adrian's like, oh my God, there he is again. Oh my God, I went on a date with this guy one time.
Oh, it could be like that scene in It's a Wonderful Life when he comes back. It's not Bedford Falls, but it's like whatever that guy. And everyone's like, this guy's nuts. Who is this guy? They're like trying to chase him out of town.
It always reminds me of like Vanilla Sky. Like, that was a crazy, like where he made up, he got into that accident when the psychopath killed him and herself. And like makes up this whole thing, but dude, it was crazy, man. Yeah, you could get deep with this
Tom
movie.
Cruise at the end of Vanilla Sky, when he jumps off the building, comes up and he's Rocky Balboa?
Whoa. A Rocky extended universe.
Dude, I feel like Rocky could extend into many different universes.
Sure.
But I mean, like...
I'm just going to pretend that this new Suicide Squad in which Stallone is the shark is actually Rocky in a different parallel time. A different time. That's what I'm going to...
Wait, Stallone's the shark in that?
Yeah, he's going to be the CGI
really?
shark.
Amazing.
Yeah, he's still got it.
And this is a perfect time to take a little bit of break from the show, from this test, from these tangents. I'm going to give myself a little bit of a plug, Dan, if you don't mind. I'm one of the owners of Lithology Brewing Company, located in Farmingdale, New York. We're a New York Farm Brewery. We're a nano brewery. Come down. We got 12 rotating tap handles going. Go to lithologybrewing.com for more information, or follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Lithology Brewing. That's LITHOLGY Brewing. Then, so we get to the street fight. The craziest part about this is also like bringing in the paparazzi in the 90s.
Yeah.
Like how like the press doesn't care. Yeah, the big camcorder, and how this is kind of like they just wanted clickbait before clickbait was happening.
Right.
Like they're like the news people do not care that this is happening. Like they're loving this, right? They walk into a bar with a camera. If I was that bar owner, I'd be like, "You're not coming in here."
No.
Right.
Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
This is not happening right now because you're calling out in a fight. Like, what were they expecting to happen? Like, Rocky was going to be like, okay, on live television, I accept your fight. We're going to go fight in a couple months.
Yeah.
Like, that fight would have taken place months from now, not like that
There'd
moment.
Be paperwork and event planning. And it wouldn't be as exciting.
No.
So, like,
the end of the movie is him signing a piece of
Yeah.
So then Paulie goes up to him, calls him a piece of crap. He gets hit. Rocky's like, you hit him, why don't you try hitting me? And then we go on.
My ring's outside.
My ring's outside. And everybody's like, yeah, like going out. Cops are letting this happen.
Street fight.
Okay. Cops are okay with this.
Yeah.
They're like, because you see the lights flashing everywhere. They're almost like, let's shut down the street.
There's a full bus that stops and like puts the lights on the fight, and everyone's like, "Yeah, bus come from? Like,
yeah."
And it's
they get out of the bus and they're like, "Yo, Rocky's fighting."
They're not quiet.
Again, this is the 90s. Nobody's like showing their phone, and this is not live streamed. This is only on the news. So somebody must have been like, yo, that's down the block.
Right, let's go out and see that. It's right there.
Yo, let's go see this fight. All right, we're seeing this fight. Who's the world champion, who's assaulting men, by the way. He's assaulting
several people.
Started assaulting people. And Rocky's going to get him.
He beat up several people.
It's so strange to see that. Like, just the way it goes down where Rocky's at the bar and Tommy and the gang are like, hey, come out here. Like, they're middle schoolers, like, ready to fight. Like let's take it to the street. It's so interesting.
Just like the son got into the fight.
It feels like a son,
and they were saying, fight.
It does feel like the middle school fight that happens earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an interesting beginning. And like I said before, like I think it would have been really interesting because I like the idea of Rocky like really reverting to his old ways and literally being in a street fight. But like we needed something like just a little bit more interesting to get him there. Like I think involve the son somehow. Maybe Tommy says something horrendous about his son, or Adrian or something.
Or Adrian.
Yeah, like bring it back to family.
To tie in,
to
tie in the other movies, it would have been either the son or Adrian.
Because it feels like
not
two
Paulie.
Separate things. Like the son's dealing with his stuff, and then we're dealing with Tommy. So if like somehow we brought those two together. But it's
like he pushes the son out of the way, like the son's there, and the son's like, "Leave my dad alone," and he like pushes him.
Accidentally elbows something, okay, then I'm like, go out there and beat his ass,
or like says something derogatory about Adrian. That usually pisses me off.
We know that's worked. Rocky 3,
for sure.
Yeah,
but Paulie's even like when he gets hit, Paulie's like, yeah, I'm fine. Don't worry about it. It's not.
Yeah. He touches. He's like, should have just left him in the street.
He's like, I'm good. Whatever.
Where's my drink?
He just cares about the drink.
Oh my God!
But you know, like Rocky doesn't really start to win the fight until his son gets there and says, "Go for it."
Go for it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He took my room. I'm like, all these.
He took my room, and then he says, "Go for it," and then that's it. Like Rocky goes for, and he has that the flashback of like Mickey going like,
that was gruesome.
That was
because Mickey loves you.
That was like chaotic because there was flashes of like so much like bloody faces and blood and like Mickey is there and like kids there. It's just like, what the fuck? Like I feel like that is when he was gonna die. It was like all these flashes of his face.
Yeah.
It was so chaotic along with like these weirdly angled shots of the crowd screaming intertwined. It's like just so much chaos in sort of like a really good way, but also a really terrifying way at the same time. Like I don't want to be anywhere near
the blood
this.
pouring over his head.
So it's like dark and heavy.
Yeah. It was different. That was like all of a sudden a whole other movie.
Yeah, that's what it felt like.
Where did this montage or cuts come from?
It felt like a horror cut almost. Like gruesome, brutal.
Yeah.
And then you hear that Rocky music while he's like angled face is coming up and a train goes by. And then it's back to the like hip hop remix.
Such a
like
strange
transition. The music was so disappointing.
The music is all over the place.
So bad.
It's
all
really
over.
strange.
So bad. I mean, I would say Stallone's when he first knocks out Tommy, his speech that he gives him, that was really great.
Oh, when he's like, I loved you.
Yeah. We were like this. Like, I was like
this. We were like this. Yeah.
But after that, the fight's all right, whatever. Mm-hmm. The bus sneaks up on them, which like, how's that happen? Adrian, that slow motion shot of Adrian is like,
yeah. Well, Adrian should have been terrified that her husband was going to die.
Well, the kids,
she must have been like, there should have been a cut to her going to the cop like, you need to stop this fight.
Seriously. She's like,
like this can't keep going. Like he's going to die.
He could literally die. But instead she's just
nobody cares.
Just yelling out.
Yeah. And the priest is totally happy about it.
Get him.
He's throwing blessings. He's just saying the man.
He's like, I'm
like, what is happening?
Okay. I'm like, you're happy about a street fight?
This
like,
is aggressive.
Okay. Philadephia, bro.
Bro hugs.
It's Philadelphia
priest.
I guess
it's Philadelphia.
Yikes!
I mean, he likes Rocky. He obviously has a fan. He's obviously a fan of Rocky, not Tommy.
Oh yeah, the priest Loki hates him, so he's fine with it.
Yeah.
He's also like, he sucks.
Yeah.
He's like, I gave him the blessing before, but not take that blessing away.
Yeah.
So
I mean, and then we get to that one part where finally Tommy Gunn's knocked out, and he goes up to George Washington Duke, and he goes, "Touch me, I'll sue. Touch me, I'll sue." And I'm like, this is the part of the movie that I remember forever. This is
forever.
It's the one, and then he hits him, and it's like he explodes upward onto the roof of a car. Sue me for what? It's like, bro,
sue me for what? Yeah, so he wins, and like, kind of anticlimactic ending of a movie.
It's a weird, sweaty, bloody kiss to Adrian. That was gross.
That was okay.
Talia Shire, she did not want to touch him.
No, she didn't want to be there. You could feel it. She's not that into that.
I was out. It was kind of like, man. First of all, I hated Tommy's outfit. I thought it sucked.
It was really.
He should have taken the jacket off.
It was like Adrian was wearing like nightgowns the entire movie.
She was really cozy.
Yeah, she was like in muumuus.
She was also filming Godfather 3 at the same time. So she was going back and forth to these two films overnight to film both. Yeah, exactly.
Jesus,
she's probably like, what did I sign up for?
Yeah, what is this? I'm like, she's probably like, God, I hope I die in Rocky 6. But spoiler.
No, I was not happy about the ending because I was just like, that's it?
Yeah.
You know, and then like they cut to like scenes from like Rocky 1 and 2. And,
they run up the stairs with
the son and him run up the stairs.
Oh yeah, the son, and he's like, nice. I didn't know there was paintings in here.
Like that's cute. That's nice. Like, and again, it being his actual son, and like it does pulls my heartstrings. But you're right. The fight itself, it feels unearned. Like. Tommy just betrayed him like 20 minutes ago and then is like, yo, let's go, Rocky. And then the fight itself is so intense and chaotic and weird and then just kind of stops without like any lesson learned on either side's party. You know, I think there would have been a cool opportunity for Tommy to maybe even like redeem himself and be like, you're right, I was taken advantage of. Like, I should have listened to you, or like something, I don't know, or Rocky to have been like, no, I'm done. I'm over this. Something more, just a little bit more.
They kind of just ended it. You're right, because like Tommy's still the champ.
On
like,
paper,
he's still gonna go
he's
fight.
still the champ. He's still gonna keep going, and Rocky's gonna do his own thing. And I do like the one punch to the promoter, and that's satisfying as hell. Yeah, and the weird line like, only in America.
They should have.
What do you mean by that?
They should have had. Yeah, they should have had
a street fight in the middle of Philadelphia, and like one person gets arrested.
They should have had like Adrian punch the redhead,
or Adrian punched the promoter because she hated him. Like that would have been fun. She has one of like my favorite lines earlier when he's still trying to get Rocky to fight. And he says something like, you can come back to like living like a human. And she's like, maybe you should live like a human or something. Like, there's so much animosity. She's so sassy to him. If she was the one that punched him, oh, baby, that would have been it.
That would have been amazing.
Good. That would have been good.
Yeah. And Rocky does have one line at the end that kind of hit me when he's like, I wrote it down because he goes, they run up the stairs. And he says something about loving something. He's like, well, I love almost everybody.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like,
it was Picasso. Rocky. His son's like, you're going to love Picasso.
You're going to love him. He's like, I love almost everybody.
Oh, Rocky.
And I feel like... the original script did have him shaking Tommy Gunn's hand at the end and helping him out. That was supposed to happen. But they cut that.
I would have liked that. Like, I think I would have liked it more if there was something like where Rocky was like, you're young and dumb, and I was there too. This is okay. It's okay that you fucked up because I've fucked up, or something. Just something, just a little something for us. Other than like, we knew Rocky was going to win, even though they wanted to kill him off. It was obvious, like, it's fucking Rocky. They're not going to kill him off. Yeah. So if there was just some sort of lesson or some sort of, like, tie it up nicely, but it was instead like, Tommy's going to jail. Fuck him. Tommy's going to jail. You suck, Tommy.
Oh, man. And then Elton John's Measure of a Man, which was so... What was that? I mean,
dude, the soundtrack was all over the place. It was terrible. You go from, like, the best soundtrack in Rocky 4, the best motion picture score in Rocky 1 to this.
Just picking and choosing songs, throwing it in. Yeah, that works.
It was like a shuffle that you put on Pandora that you were like, what was this?
And it was
this is not good.
He had a third-rate MC Hammer song on there. It was just like, why?
So I'm telling you, man, Ninja Rap should have been on there.
Dude, that last fight actually reminded me of the last fight in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I was like, this looks like the street fight in Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, it's got a very similar vibe. Yeah.
Very wet. Yeah, it's like everything's wet.
Yeah, and, it was wet. Like wet and dark and seems moist for some reason. Yeah.
Well, they in film, you do wet the streets to get like a better color street. Like, it always looks like it's like just finished raining. But like they went extra wet.
Yeah.
In this movie.
They went
extra wet.
That's gonna be a top.
They went extra wet.
I don't know. It just looks like somewhere I would like not want to be, and if I had to be there, I'd need to shower like immediately. Even if I was just watching on the sidelines, I'd just be like, "This is a gross environment. I don't like this one bit."
Yeah.
God, Rocky 5. Well, I think we're here.
What a movie!
Just
Are we?
I'm exhausted by this movie. And does this pass the nostalgia test? Meaning, is it something that is still good? Or is it just something that kind of hits the right spots for you and kind of brings you back to kind of when you saw it? It's very nostalgic. I'll only really watch it in passing. I'm not grabbing to watch Rocky 5. I'm not sitting down being like, yeah, it's time to watch Rocky 5 again. Or is it actually really just bad? The way we have it on our show, which some of the things that were super bad were like Take Off Your Pants and Jacket Bad by Blink-182, which is like one of the worst things on the planet.
I couldn't. I thought I loved it. And,
that's the thing. Like we thought we loved it, and it's not.
Hey, we
good.
could be wrong. Jess might like that.
I haven't revisited it in a while, but I'm gonna guess I probably won't. Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna jump in and I'll say that this definitely does not pass the nostalgic test. I wouldn't say that it's so bad that it's like take off your pants jacket. I'll probably not watch this for a while, but it is somewhat nostalgic in the way that like I think it has a place in the Rocky franchise, and some people argue with me that it doesn't. I think that there is something to it to explain about the horrors of boxing and the money behind it and the promotion and the using of athletes. And there could have been a better movie in this. Mm-hmm. But I guess it's like really low on the nostalgic point. Like it makes me think about other things where I could get deeper here about my childhood. Yeah. A lot of it does bring some feels up that way, but only because the topics. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, like This Is Us does a better job at that than this movie. So that's so I guess it kind of is like it's just there. Yeah, it's not super bad, but it definitely doesn't pass the test for me.
I agree. Like I think this is just nostalgic. It's one, like I said before, I've seen this Rocky movie more times than most other Rocky movies besides Rocky 4 for some reason, but I just can't say that it's good. It's not. There is a good movie in here, and it was just, you know, buried by terrible soundtrack, terrible story, and just a rush job. I mean, Stallone gave it a 0. And I have to agree it's really bad, but it's nostalgic enough for me to watch it and be like, oh, okay. Like, you know, I get why this is here. And I remember watching this, but it's not something I'm going to purposely revisit at all. So just nostalgic for me.
I'm going to have to agree with both of you guys. I don't think it passes, and if I was on my podcast I'd say don't give it a second chance. So no on both tests for me. I think like you guys said, there's certain things that I do enjoy about it and I do get feels for, and there's certain nostalgic moments that I enjoy watching, one of which is, like I said, his actual son. Like there is something like nostalgic about that innocence. For me there's always something nostalgic about pure early 90s content, always. But it's like there is something that could have worked really well here, and there was messages there that could have been really impactful, but somehow got all lost in the mix. You can definitely tell, I think, compared to the other movies, this was made for money and not for the fun or the soul of Rocky. So for me, nah, it's not it.
All right, so now we're gonna do your rating. Okay. So, have you seen all 6?
I haven't seen the 6, so I can rank them all from this currently, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So. Okay.
Yeah, you can leave 6 out. I'll tell you that 6 is definitely better than 5. But
I mean, watching this, I do want to watch 6. So
You should.
I think I will.
You should.
You know what? I'm a purist, so my first top favorite Rocky is going to be Rocky 1. It is. Yeah.
Okay.
My second favorite would be, I really do enjoy Rocky 4. I really think it's a lot of fun. My third would be Rocky 2. My next one would be 3. And then 5 is 5 for me. It's my last. So it's 1, 4, all right. 2, 3, 5.
1, 4. You're one of the first 1, 4s.
Well, I'm a 1, 4 from...
See...
You were, Dan.
I like. Yeah. There's just, you know what, is Dolph. I think there's just something about him. And I just think it's like... fun. Is it objectively good? Probably not. But like, I enjoy the hell out of it.
What I'm saying about your 1, 4, like normally, so like most people have been 4 and then something. So like you put what Dan did do 1, 4. I'm a 4, 1, 3, 2, 6, 5.
Okay.
But I sometimes change that up. This afternoon, I think I was like a 4, 3.
Wow.
Yeah.
No.
Just because Rocky 3 sometimes, like, after
you heard the
watching
Rocky
it and
4
after
episode, you went 4-3.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. It's a hot take with Max. Because after watching Rocky 3 and us dissecting it, I was like, actually, this movie is pretty damn good. And, like, Adrian's speech, she's not a wet blanket in it. And, like, she grew as a person and, like, how she gets Rocky back was great. But today I'm a 4-1-3-2-6-5. So we got Jess is a 1-4-2-3-5.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
It's really interesting too, because I feel like with most franchises, your favorites are like 1, 2, 3, and then it just typically goes down as the movies go down. But with this, it's all over the place. Which is interesting. And everyone kind of has their own opinion, which is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say like right now, I'm kind of just like, I think like you, Manny, but I'm 1-4-3-2-6-5. It's just like
3. Okay.
1-4. I just can't get, I love Rocky 1.
Yeah.
I love Rocky 1. And
it
love
is
Rocky
a fantastic
4.
film.
But between 3 and 2, it's just like, I would rather watch Rocky 3 than Rocky 2. Like, and I understand why Rocky 2 exists. I like it, but it's just like, if I'm going to sit down and watch Rocky, I can't, I'm not going to watch, I can't watch Rocky 2 on its own. If I'm going to watch Rocky 1, I might then go, now's the perfect time to watch Rocky 2 if I'm going to watch it. If it's not going to happen, then I'm not watching it, then, you know.
Yeah, right.
There's that. You're right.
I see that.
You're right. It's just a part 1, part 2. It could have been released like a Kill Bill 1. You know, we said it
volume 1,
before, like Kill Bill, like volume 1, volume 2, because it's the same movie. It's the same movie continued. Yeah. You know, so just a mini series, and you're like, wow. All right. Jess, thank you for sticking out through Rocky 5.
Thank you so much for having me. I feel like...
And it's also great to have a woman's perspective on Rocky, because usually you only hear about like only like dudes being dudes talking about Rocky, you know.
Adrian sucks. I can see that.
I know. It's but
I always Dan, we're always like, do women like Rocky as much as like men do?
You know, I think they're entertaining as hell, and some like have really pure soul to it. So like again, like when I was growing up, it was my mom who loved Rocky 1. She was the one that was like, Rocky's one.
It's a love story, Rocky 1.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, because I think there's so many layers to the Rocky franchise in general that often get really overlooked. So there's a lot there you could like, truly. Yeah. So it was fun revisiting this. It makes me want to watch every single one again.
Tell everyone again where they can find your podcast, and and then so people can follow you and listen to
again, it's Second Chance Movies. We are on pretty much every podcast platform, so wherever you're listening to this, we are on it. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram. We're on Letterboxd at Second Chance Movies, and we're on YouTube as well. So if you want a visual medium with your podcasting, we offer that. Second Chance Movies podcast. And on Instagram and Twitter, I am at Jessica Kwazz, if you want to follow me there. I always love talking about movies. I will talk about any movie. So and if you want me to watch movies for you, give us a request and we'll cover it at Second Chance Movies Podcast.
Great. Sweet. Awesome. Yeah, and everyone,
guys, go check it out. Like and subscribe.
Yeah, and drop comments here for this episode of Rocky 5. We'd love to know what you think about Rocky 5. Your predictions for
Except
Rocky
Rob.
6. Yeah, except for Rob. We already know what you think. And
Rob, how do you like this movie so much?
You
put like Rob's hot take was 5. He chose 5-1 or 5-4.
I don't know.
I forget
I have to
now.
write them down. Oh yeah, and if you want, throw your ratings down in the comments as well. We'd love to start getting people's Rocky rankings so we can understand where everyone sits with Rocky 1 through 6, Rocky 1 through Rocky Balboa. Follow us on Instagram at The Nostalgia Test, on Twitter at Nostalgia Test, and like and subscribe. We're coming at you with one more Rocky.
One more. Jess, you gotta go check it out. One more.
Because you guys have done the work. The least I can do is watch 6 and listen to your episode.
You gotta do it.
You guys are brave. This is an undertaking. Good for you.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. Please subscribe to the Nostalgia Test podcast to know when new episodes drop. Don't forget to leave us 5 stars and a positive review so more people can find the podcast. Share your thoughts and memories on today's topic on our Twitter at Nostalgia Test and on Instagram at The Nostalgia Test. Tune in next time because you never know what pop culture will pop up on The Nostalgia Test.